Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand call-in show, our new show, second show, and we're going to get into all the divisive topics. Should the stars be dropped? Should Rashford be dropped? Should Garnacho start? Who makes the team on the weekend from the Palace game midweek? A team that performed so well. What's next with Sancho? How do we get Amrabat, Bruno, Mount, all in the same team with Casemiro? Going to be getting all of your questions in, so make sure you get calling as well and have your say. Discord is on screen, also in the link below, so make sure you call that up, have your say, and you could be on the show with us. Hosting the show with me today, we have Adam. Adam, welcome, first call-in show for you.
Yes, what's going on, everyone? I'm looking forward to some sensible conversation. No, it's not. Let's go all in. Let's go and say whatever you want to say. It's what it's all about here. It's your opinion at the end of the day. It's what you want to say. We're going to keep our mouths shut. I'll probably just come in and nip it if it gets a little bit too tasty, but you know what, it's about what they want to say. We're just going to listen to everything, your points and your rants, hopefully.
Exactly.
Let's just let it all out.
Exactly.
That's what it's about. Let's get going.
Let's get into it. So our first caller, we have Hamza, who wants to talk about how you can get Mount, Amrabat, Bruno and Casemiro in the same team.
I like it.
Adam, you like it, but you're all about round pegs in round holes. But Hamza, you there with us? I think we're having a little bit of problems with his mic, so we'll just wait for you to...
No, I'm here.
Oh, he's here. Hamza
is here.
In the building.
Hi.
Hamza, talk to me. You want to get Mount, Amrabat, Bruno and Casemiro in the same team. How do we do it?
First of all, I think there are many options that we could do it. Basically, I think Mount was fantastic last game.
Agree with you.
I think he should get more opportunities with this midfield. I think if we play I think it's really interesting if we played the same way like Amrabat at left back, but at the same time he's not left back. I think it worked really well. So if we did the same thing with Bruno at the number 8 and Mount at number 10, I think it could work, because what I realized is Mount has played his best game in the United shirt, but in the number 10 position, not in the number 8. So I think that would be really interesting. I also think that on the other hand, we could also put Mount on the right wing, which is a bit controversial because I know you all like Pellistri playing on the right every week, but I think it's a bit more of a flair play where you put him in the second half, refreshing the team, and I think it's a bit weak physically. So if we put Mount on the right, I think it could work really well.
Yeah. In terms of that suggestion, Hamza, there, I actually like it. Beth pulled me on my round pegs in round holes situation, but the first explanation that you gave in terms of the inverted fullback, I feel is where, especially a game against Crystal Palace, where we're going to have a lot of the ball. We're expected to take the game to Crystal Palace, having that extra body in midfield and then freeing up Bruno with Amrabat and Casemiro holding. We're not at risk, I don't think, of being overrun right through the middle. I feel like then Amrabat has got the legs to get out wide, cover that fullback position if needed, and therefore freeing up Bruno and Mount, the creative players in that team, to work with what hopefully is a very youthful front line as well at weekend. I think that works.
The only thing I would say, and Hamza, I'll bring you back in on this, is that obviously that Crystal Palace team we played against sat back, didn't have much of the ball, and was a very poor side. You had basically none of their star players and barely any of their first team players in. Do you think we can do that against a full strength Palace side on Saturday? Do you think Amrabat's capable of doing it? Because obviously you see City play that way with that inverted fullback. So can United do it? Can it help them gain more possession in games?
Oh, 100%. I think Amrabat and Casemiro at the back is just something you cannot get past. One thing I wanted to hint out as well is I think this season, I don't know if it's only me, but I think Casemiro's this season a bit more of a box-to-box.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Amrabat playing is gonna be crucial.
Yeah.
So that's why we need Casemiro and Amrabat at the same team, because Casemiro this season, he can score goals, he can assist, and he can defend. He can do everything. Amrabat can sit back, hit the long balls, cover the midfield. I think it was Stonewall. Whoever we played, I think it would be tough to penetrate our defense. And at the same time, I think now with the improvement of the midfield, I think the attack will be much better, as we saw against Crystal Palace. It's only Crystal Palace, but I think there is a bit more of a connection between the defense and the attack. Hence,
maybe
we
this
could
was
defend a bit more and better.
Maybe
Yeah.
this was Erik Ten Hag's plan all along with signing Amrabat and Mount.
Well,
You never know. We'll have to wait and see. But
will.
Hamza, thank you very much for your
Cheers,
call.
buddy.
I do really like what you're saying. If we can do anything like how we did it midweek against a stronger side, it's definitely something to watch out for in the future. Especially because Dalot is so intelligent as well,
Well,
in
that's
that
it.
position and dropping in.
He's used to playing that. It's like an inverted fullback taking turns on each side. They both step in. Dalot has been quite accomplished at that, I feel, this season as well. And Amrabat took to it like a duck to water. But it's like he said in his interview and where he's been talking this week, I'll play wherever the manager wants me to because he knows I can play in these positions. He knows I'm disciplined enough to then drop back in and understand the way the system's working and the formation. So that works for me. I'm totally on board with that one. A midfield of Amrabat and Casemiro. If Casemiro does want to make them late runs, and he is up there with our leading goal scorers.
One of our most attacking threats,
Yeah,
you know. So.
Amrabat is there with the energy, which a lot of the other midfielders haven't got, Beth.
It's suddenly looking a
yeah.
lot more promising for our midfield. That is for sure. Going to be talking loads more topics. And if you want to have your say, Discord link below or scan the barcode that's on screen. Get in the Discord community and you could be on the live chat with us and have your opinion across. Disagree with us, agree with us, get your opinions in. But next we have Elijah waiting. Who's going to start from the Palace game on Saturday? And should Rashford be dropped? That is the question that everyone's asking. Should Garnacho play instead? Should Martial play instead? Elijah, are you there with us?
I am indeed.
How you doing, mate? You okay?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
We're all good here in the studio, pal. We're anticipating, hopefully, another good performance against Palace at weekend. But is there anything from that game in the Carabao Cup midweek that you want to take forward into this one at weekend in the Premier League, mate? As in, any players that started in midweek are going to keep their place in the team? Who do you want to see?
Do you know what? I want to see the entire team. Maybe I'm not very popular with the masses, but
would you bring Højlund in though? Would you bring Højlund back?
Was that sorry?
Would you bring Højlund back in?
Do you know what? I love Højlund. I think he's going to be great for us. But I think Martial started the game, he scored the goal. I think again, him included. I think some unpopular figures in the whole United squad pulled their weight in the team that was produced in the cup. I think that as a team, it showed all the quality that we wanted. Now, you know, I'm hearing a lot that we can't celebrate that win because it was a weakened Crystal Palace side. I say I can celebrate that win because I saw the fundamentals of a team which we're not seeing on a consistent basis. We lack that team emphasis, we lack the aptitude and the willingness to work. There's a meme, and you saw it live in the game, where Garnacho tried a skill, it didn't come off. He fell down, but he got back up. If that was other certain players, without naming names, would they have got back up or would they have moaned? That right there is the key, and the fundamentals that Ten Hag wants to bring to this club, which is move forward with the right mentality and work ethic. And that's why, for me, nobody takes a dive to the bench.
So what about captain Bruno Fernandes then? Does he come into the team?
I love Bruno Fernandes. I think if there is any changes, I think he will come in. One, because he's the captain, and I think that he is one of the players that are under a lot of stick, but he brings the fundamentals. He brings the work ethic.
Yeah, I was
he
just
brings
about
the
to say that. He fits into that mould that you're describing there, Elijah, doesn't he?
Who drops out then, Elijah, for Bruno?
That's the question. That's why Ten Hag's paid the big bucks. For me, Mason's broken a record.
All his best.
Mason's broken a fantastic record there recently in terms of distance covered. I think, unfortunately, I may lean towards him. It could be Mason Mount just to protect him from injury. I think it'd either be one of them two if Bruno does come in, and I wouldn't mind seeing that if that is the case.
So you stick with Pellistri on the right then, because a lot of people are saying, you know, Pellistri might make way because it's one that Ten Hag usually does that one. I do think Rashford will come back in, but obviously a lot of people do want to start Garnacho ahead of him. Just explain to me, do you think the Pellistri should keep his place then instead of moving Mount out on the right to accommodate Bruno?
For me personally, Pellistri stays. I think, again, there's been a massive on-roll from the fans, and rightly so, Pellistri to get some minutes. He's done absolutely nothing wrong. He hasn't put a foot wrong. The work ethic, I've seen him covering his fullback. I've seen him going forward, taking on his man. I've seen him doing every single thing right. It was the 89th minute, I think it was, against Palace, and the guy was making runs forward. He wasn't going back, he was making runs forward with the ball. And it's just them little key things that, for me, make him a 10 out of 10 performer, and he should be in that pitch come the Crystal Palace game.
Where is your stance on Rashford? Where are you at on him? Because a lot of people obviously against him starting, but some people think he's our star man, he has to start. Where are you at on that?
For me personally, it's very well known. Marcus Rashford is a very good player. I think Marcus Rashford has this key issue at the moment, which is this head down, run towards goal. We've seen it time and time again where he's doing unnecessary tricks, trying to do Rabonas while he's covered by 3 or 4 defenders. I think the fundamentals that Rashford needs to adopt are very easy to do so, which is just pass the ball, play the simple pass. I love Marcus Rashford. I love each and every one of our players. It's a team game though, and Marcus needs to know this. We've got a new striker in Højlund. We've got a striker in Martial. They need service. It's not just a Marcus Rashford show. It is the Manchester United show. And for me, Garnacho warrants his place because he was looking for his man. He scored a goal, but he was looking for his man. He was taking on his fullback. He worked hard. And lately, we've not seen the work ethic from Marcus again. It's dropped since the new contract signing. And he's getting kind of a lot of pelters. I don't agree with some of the slander, but he's got to pull his weight. And the fundamentals are passion, work rate. Massive, massive, massive fundamentals. If they're not there, he sits on that bench for me.
Elijah, absolutely brilliant as always, mate. You've been on a few of the spaces with us as well. Absolutely appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on and talking to us, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Elijah.
In terms of Marcus Rashford there, Beth, I think it is important that he does learn that he isn't a number one. He isn't untouchable. And like Elijah said there, he has got the qualities. We all know what he brings to the game. Maybe sat on the bench watching some youth team players take his place and do better than him will rediscover that for him when he comes on.
Well, I think he'll definitely be thinking it after what happened in the week. I think a lot of them players on the bench were thinking, oh, I'm going to have to perform well on Saturday, because Ten Hag won't drop him. He'll bring Rashford and Bruno back in, but now if they don't perform well again after that good performance midweek, there's a lot of pressure on them to have a good
Ten Hag to surprise
now.
everyone at weekend.
I mean, it'll be interesting. Also, guys, in the chats, make sure you get your chats in, or even super chats, to whatever topics you want to discuss. If you can't call in, get the topics in that you want discussed, and we'll pose them questions to our callers as well. But next topic, we have Noah waiting. Interesting one, Adam, because I've seen a lot of people, and I'm sure someone will call up and say, Bruno should be dropped. I've seen a lot of people say that's why we could control the midfield, but Noah is on the line to tell us why Bruno Fernandes is undroppable. Noah, are you there with us?
Hello.
How you doing, Noah?
Good. How are you?
I think I'm good, mate. I'm good. Cheers for coming on and joining us.
Thank you.
Bruno Fernandes undroppable. I agree with you 100%, mate, but tell me why.
I think Bruno provides 4 things that many people don't, that other players don't provide. Goal scoring ability, passing ability, creativity. Well, I'd say creativity, but in passing ability. His leadership and his work rate. Bruno Fernandes works hard. He's a leader and he sets an example. If you don't have Bruno on that team for many games, we lose them. Burnley's an example. He won us that game off his ability to score goals, and the fact he's able to put teams back and say, here, I'm going to win this game because I'm a big game player. I'm a leader. And I think Bruno, how do I put it? He brings a lot to the team in a way that you can't replace him. I think Hannibal came into that team against Burnley Crystal Palace, and I think he worked hard, but he didn't do the 3 things Bruno does. He didn't score goals, he didn't create chances, and he wasn't a leader. I think Hannibal, I don't think he's ready yet. I think he looks like he could be a prospect. I don't see it really. But I think Bruno does something in that team. And I think every time he plays, there's a difference. We create chances. Now, we always have a problem of creating chances, but Bruno is the reason solely why we did last season. I think Hannibal came to that team, and I know we won 3-0 against Crystal Palace, but we didn't create chances. We were just clinical. We had 3 chances and we took them. I think under Bruno, Højlund will cook. Højlund will do things that people won't imagine. I think he will bag 15 goals in the Premier League this season, mark my words, because of Bruno Fernandes.
Big shout.
I mean, no, I absolutely love this call because we're a big fan of Bruno, aren't we, Adam, both of us? And I think a lot of people, obviously are, but a lot of people, very reactionary based on what they've seen. Bruno Fernandes, even for Portugal, he's absolutely brilliant. For Man United, since he's been in the league, most chance created. And yes, sometimes he does do frustrating things, but everything he provides that's good to the team outweighs it for me. And he's, like De Bruyne said himself, a creative machine. Noah, how do you go about, obviously Mount's Erik ten Hag's new signing, Amrabat looks really good, Casemiro as well has to be in there. How do you go about constructing your midfield 3? What's your midfield 3 then for what that you'd go with?
Yeah. Personally, I think people saying that we need to play a midfield 4 and drop wingers and play 2 up front, I think that is just not going to work. I think you need the weight in this team, get cross into Hoyland, create chances for Hoyland. I think Amrabat, Casemiro, Bruno has to be the way to go. I think Mount can be there. Mount is a very good player. We've seen glimpses of it, let's be honest. He hasn't been really up to it in the 2 games he started in the Prem, and then he did all right against Crystal Palace. I think that performance was a bit overrated. But I think Mount can do a job there, but I just think Bruno does something that other players can't.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff, Noah. Thank you very much for calling in and giving your opinion. We actually have a contradicting caller just about to come in, which we absolutely love, Adam.
That's what we need
to start the battle. You can start this one, Adam, and invite George onto the show. So, George, welcome to the show.
George, how are you doing, mate? Oh, George, don't let me down now. Come on, talk to me, George. Are you there, pal?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you, guys. Cheers from Germany.
Germany,
love it. It's just
I mean, I don't like
mate.
Munich though. Don't like Munich. Hopefully not from that area.
No, but it's still a lovely city though, and obviously almost good memories for us coming back from there. It was a weird game, but yeah, we want to talk. We've just been talking about Bruno there. You down as agreeing with our mate Rickster the Trickster, old Ricky, in terms of we play better without Bruno Fernandes, and I think Marcus Rashford you said as well. Is that correct, mate?
Yes, correct. Basically, I don't want Bruno and Rashford to be dropped completely. It's not like they have to be dropped and bring new players in, but it's on Ten Hag to drill into Bruno because we know how good Bruno is. We all know how good he is. Even players like De Bruyne say how good he is, but we have to, because Bruno got used to picking the ball 40 yards away to Rashford under Ole. But right now we're playing more possession, so we need Bruno to take care of the ball a bit more. And when he's not doing that in our system, maybe after 75 minutes we could take him off, bring a new player in, or we can drop him for 1 game, drop another CAM there. My point is even more on Rashford, which is mind-boggling because we've seen drop his head and not play 100%. And when Grealish does that, he gets on the bench. When Mahrez used to do that at City, he gets on the bench. Salah gets off after 70 minutes.
Mentality.
Basically, we can't play Bruno and Rashford every single game of every... Because when's Pellistri going to play? When's Garnacho's going to play? What are we going to do with Garnacho? He's not going to get any time. And then he's going to want to move to some other team where he gets time. So we have to drill into Bruno to take care of the ball more, and we have to show Rashford that he's not invincible. He's not Mbappe.
Exactly. I agree.
George, would you start Garnacho then over Rashford on that left wing, or even maybe Martial?
I would give Garnacho more time because obviously we saw Garnacho starting the first 2 games and he didn't really do that well. But I would give him a start just to set a fire under Rashford's,
in his
back.
Yeah.
For him, to realize I might lose my place, and then go on and perform great. Just like when we brought in Telles, when Shaw wasn't performing, and all of a sudden Shaw started being world class.
Shaw's a prime example of that. You're right.
Do you think Mount can be an actual competitor for Bruno? Because Bruno's never really had a competitor. Do you think Mount can be that competitor for him?
I don't think so.
No, not really. That's why I like Bruno, and I know Bruno is a very good player, and I know he can take care of the ball a bit more. He just has to be coached into it a bit more.
Can I just ask you a question, George, on Bruno Fernandes there? Do you think he is a victim to the inconsistency and the system we're trying to play? Because Kevin De Bruyne gives the ball away more than what Bruno does, but City have that built-in system. Do you think the chopping and changing of managers, the inconsistency of not having a permanent team, has hindered him actually being able to adapt to some of the Ten Hag ball that you're talking about or alluding to?
It might be. And because the last 2 years, he didn't even have one striker that he played with 3 games in a row.
That's a fair point, yeah.
He had Cavani, Ronaldo, Ghost.
It's a list, isn't it? It really is. It's horrible.
I mean, imagine if Bruno Fernandes was playing with Haaland. That'd be a much different story. Hopefully, Haaland can provide that partnership for him. But look, George, I think your connection's breaking up a little bit, so going to have to say goodbye to you. But thank you very much for calling up.
Cheers, George, mate.
Yeah, thank you for calling up from Germany. Really appreciate it. Thank you, George, for coming on at the channel.
Cheers.
Red Army says Maguire must start again after man of the match performance. I mean, we can get some comments on that one. And I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, to say that people are thinking, you know, Ten Hag needs to rotate more with his subs, and that's hopefully what we're going to see. But we have Ross calling in now, talking about how Amrabat will kickstart our season. I like the sound of that, because I honestly think this Amrabat signing, I know it's only a loan, but generally could be, you know, that, you know, you've got the cherry on top of the cake in the sense of Mason Mount, but you need the foundations there of Amrabat, and I think he's the key to unlocking the door for Casemiro as well. So,
100%.
Ross, are you with us? Are you with us?
How you doing, Ross?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hi.
All right, mate. Good to hear you, pal.
Ross, you were talking about Amrabat and how he will kickstart our season. What role will that be in? Because obviously we've seen him only so far playing in the fullback role. He did move into midfield in the second half against Crystal Palace, but great performances in both positions. What position will Amrabat ultimately take up in this team?
Oh, I think it's obvious that he's going to take over in the defensive midfield position. You know, even though he started in left back, he drifted so many times into midfield, and that's where he was most effective. I just wanted to say, like, Amrabat is the exact profile of player that this team has been crying for. He was so comfortable on the ball. He picks up the ball from the defense. He doesn't hide. He can show the pace. He slows down the pace of the game. He makes progressive passes and runs. And he was absolutely everywhere on the pitch. And, you know, lots of people have been criticizing Casemiro, saying Casemiro is finished and stuff like that. But just put someone like Amrabat alongside him, and it just goes to show the type of player that Casemiro is. Now he's going up, running up the pitch, scoring goals. Amrabat is exactly what we needed.
Do you think it's the end of Scott McTominay at Man United with the incoming of Amrabat?
I think so. I just don't see a place for where Ten Hag is going to play him.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Ross. I feel right now, even the experiment of trying to play Scott McTominay in his Scotland role on the right-hand side was a ultimate disaster. Our first defeat in over a year at Old Trafford was with Scott McTominay on that right-hand side. Not saying it was him, but when you're struggling to fit players in, there's a problem. And like I said, Beth, round pegs, square holes, that's what McTominay was in that game. Not his fault. But Ten Hag, I think it was the previous caller who said, I'll get your opinion on this as Ross, mate, Ten Hag has to be very strict with these players now. It's like, if Rashford isn't performing, we've got people to come in. If Amrabat has one of them bad games or has a bad spell, you've got to take the opportunity when you come in to replace him. But while a player's playing well like that, you can't change the team, can you not?
I mean, yeah, Ten Hag has set a precedent of discipline, so he has to stay consistent with his standards. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
I mean, George, last thing I wanted to kind of ask you there was you did have a super chat in saying Harry Maguire to play again after his man of the match performance. Centre backs on Saturday, would Harry Maguire be in line to start for you? Because he did do okay, didn't he, in that game? I don't think it was anything to write home about, but would he be in line to start?
He did good, but I don't think you start him. That Palace team let's be honest, didn't put much pressure on us. So even the performances of the other players, you have to caveat it with, it was a Palace team that didn't put the pressure on Man United. So yes, Amrabat did good, Harry Maguire did good, but the true test is in the Premier League. So the jury is out on all these players still, but the signs were looking good. But no, I would not start Harry Maguire in the league.
Thank you, Ross, for calling
Cheers,
in.
Ross.
Really do appreciate it there. Speaking about a little bit about Amrabat there. I mean, everyone's really excited about Amrabat. Really,
Super
really
chat
excited
there.
about Amrabat.
He's talking about the drop-off as well there.
Yeah.
I mean, we've just been bigging up the team that came in and replaced Bruno and Marcus Rashford. But MCC7 says, hello, I agree with a lot of what has been said, but I would like to point out that once we do drop Bruno and Rashford, the drop-off in quality is automatically seen. If it was our best performance of the season, I think
with Bruno, I don't think with Rashford.
Bruno, yeah.
I can't lie, they get brought together a lot. It annoys me.
It does. It's because they had that link up, don't they? The joint sort of effect. They put two players together. No one created more chances and goals last season than Bruno and Rashford. In terms of assists, they were better than anyone else, any other double act in the league.
Let's put it this way though: if Bruno was, God forbid, touch wood, out injured for the season or out for the season, Man United, it would massively affect Man United. I think if massively affects us, like massively. I think if Rashford's out, it does affect us, but we can still get by. That's the difference.
I mean, I don't feel, I mean, we'll have to question with callers coming up, but I don't feel anyone would be overly concerned right now if we got an injury to Rashford, but complete opposite to Bruno. Even the Bruno haters would go, yeah, we've still not got that quality
It's everything
to replace.
he brings, not even just quality with chances created, but the leadership on the pitch, the mentality, everything he kind of brings. I know some people question that, but I think he's a brilliant captain.
But Tottenham manager's next on the call.
Yeah,
is it?
Tottenham manager is next. MCC7 says, yeah, hello, agree with what being said. We've read that one out. So next, really nice of them to join us. We have Ange Postecoglou on the phone.
Oh, Ange.
We have Ange. No, I'm joking. We have Ange. Ange, thank you for joining us. Ange there?
Are you there, Ange?
Just realised it's a United channel, not a Spurs channel.
Yeah,
I
was waiting for that big grufty voice then to come on and start talking.
We don't have Ange, unfortunately. He must have dropped out.
Unlucky.
But we are going to speak to Usman in a second. We know his opinions on Bruno and Rashford because we actually know Usman. Usman is here waiting for us.
He's been on the show
He wants to drop Bruno and Rashford. I mean, you know, these people that have been saying that are starting to look like they have a bit more of a point. Again, I don't like the bulking together of Bruno and Rashford, but I think Usman's actually a bit more onto Bruno than he is even Rashford. He's a bit opposite to me. But Usman, are you there?
Usman's coming now.
Usman?
Yeah.
You there? Yes, he is here. Yes, he is here. I thought our calling system was broke for a second then. Usman, look, we're going to have a bit of a back and forth here. You know you like to do it with me. But drop Bruno and Rashford. Tell us your thinking behind that.
Right, okay. I'll start with Rashford first because I think most people probably agree with the Rashford one. So, look, I think for me personally, it's more down to the psychological side of it rather than actual ability. If you're talking on paper, obviously Bruno and Rashford are two of the better players within the team. But I think you've got to look at it a bit deeper than just, two players and what they've brought to Manchester United since, Bruno's involvement. For me personally, I think Rashford's a fantastic example of a player that it feels like he's untouchable. I mean, he's just doing whatever he wants at this point. You saw when he played for England not so long ago, and a lot of United fans, including myself, was like, where is that Rashford being for Manchester United? He's making the right decisions. He's passing the ball to his teammate. He's working hard. And the truth of the matter is because he knows he has to do that. And if he doesn't, he's not going to play. They've got so many options in that position. He needs to make sure he's on job every time he plays for England. Otherwise, he won't start. So then you look at the Manchester United situation, and it's the complete flip side of that. I think that, for me, is the biggest problem with both of them players. Rashford, obviously, as I've alluded to,
he's got it in him, though, Usman, mate. Do you feel like he has got it in him?
Who, Rashford?
Rashford for United. Do you feel he can turn a corner and change your mind?
Oh, absolutely. I think Rashford's the kind of person he can turn you on when he wants. And the thing is, for me personally, you have to look at it psychologically. At the end of the day, there's no competition for Rashford and there's no competition for Bruno Fernandes. So essentially, they know they're the first name on the team sheet. We saw the same thing happen under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for a plethora of individuals where they knew, regardless of the performances, they would start. And you saw comments from other players that have now left the club that were complaining about favouritism. And I personally think Rashford and Bruno, regardless if they drop 1 out of 10, 5 games in a row, Eric Ten Hag will pick them, and so did the previous managers. And I think we need to break that cycle as Manchester United. There should be no player on that pitch for Man United that has a divine right of starting. And now I'm going to go into Bruno Fernandes. Again, I'm not a big fan of Mason Mount. Beth will tell you I've been criticising him since day one. But the truth of the matter is, and people probably won't give him credit, I thought he was absolutely fantastic in everything he did in the game, in the cup match the other day against Crystal Palace. Granted, against lesser opposition, yes, it was definitely easy for him. They didn't press him and they didn't really harrow him too much. But I can't take away from his performance in if you actually look at it. And I'm not saying he's a better player than Bruno Fernandes by any stretch of the imagination, but he just kept it simple. He recycled the ball alongside Hannibal Medri and obviously Casemiro. They allowed us to sustain attacks. And of course, Amrabat was definitely a huge factor in that. But the point I'm trying to make is I think Bruno Fernandes, for me, and Rashford do whatever they want because they know they're never going to get dropped. They know they're never going to have any ramifications. They can drop poor performances week in, week out, and they'll start. And I think it's time we need to We need to have a conversation about them having competition. And I think it's only going to be healthy for them to up their levels. Bruno Fernandes sits on the bench for a game and Rashford sits on the bench. They're probably going to up their levels. And for me personally, we need that. We saw it with Rashford on numerous occasions when Ten Hag put him on the bench last season because he was late. He came on and scored within 5 minutes because he had something to prove. And I think that's what we did. None of our players have that at the moment, especially in the final third, because everyone's actually quite poor in that department.
I agree with that, Usman, completely. I mean, I don't think we can even put Usman in the bracket of hating Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford. He just wants a system to be put in place where everyone's accountable, even the big name stars. And that's on Ten Hag. That's on Ten Hag to actually bring them players off when they're not performing well. Pep does it with De Bruyne. Pep does it with Foden.
Absolutely.
These are like world-class footballers who sit on the bench.
Exactly, and I agree. Look at Ange and Arteta in the North London derby. They brought Saka and Son off with like 20 minutes to go. They weren't afraid to do it, and Ten Hag does need to make them decisions. I'll bring this to you, Usman, before I let you go. Mario Franco says, question, why is no one talking about Mason Mount not having a specific place in this team? It seems like we are going to play with 2 6s. Is that £60 million wasted? I mean, where is Mason Mount's place in this team, Usman?
He's a number 10, basically.
Yes,
I mean, obviously,
I agree.
For Chelsea, he played obviously in the front three because they played 3-4-3, which obviously that's up to Tuchel. I'm not really interested in that. But as a Manchester United team, we either play 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, realistically speaking. And for me, he should be Bruno Fernandes' competition. Like I've said, I don't think Bruno Fernandes isn't a better player than him, but it's not about Bruno Fernandes, it's about Manchester United. And for me, Mason Mount brings something completely different to the team. He might not be as creative of Bruno Fernandes, but he definitely allows us to sustain attacks. If you speak to Chelsea fans that have seen him through the academy, one of Mount's best attributes is his ability to retain the possession. And overall, that's something we're massively lacking. So, hypothetically speaking, we could quite easily see a midfielder, Casemiro, Amrabat, and Mason Mount further along with them. He'll have the base, he'll have the opportunity to run free. And then Bruno Fernandes, again, will have to up his game. That's only healthy for Manchester United. I don't want to see him playing alongside Bruno Fernandes. I know a lot of people are suggesting that. I don't see that working. We've already had 2 examples of that.
What about with Amrabat? What about with Amrabat as an inverted fullback? Can that work with them both?
I think 8 and 10 between Bruno and Mount would work if that was there. Sorry, Usman, go on, mate.
Yeah, I was about to say the Amrabat situation, obviously he was brilliant, but that's very short term. I'm sorry, but I'm not putting Amrabat against Saka. Do you know what I mean? For example, like, obviously when Luke Shaw's back, he's going to rightfully take his spot back at left back. So although I understand that could work in a few games, I just feel like, if we're being honest, they can't play as 2-8s. We saw against Wolves that our poor team, they completely ran us ragged. And I know it's Mount's first game and he needs to understand the system and his players around him. So maybe there's a bit element of that in there. But you've got to look at it in terms of player profiles. I mean, Mount has never played in an 8 in his entire career at Chelsea. He's been there all his life. He's either played on a 10 or a front man, one of the front 3. So let's not put round pegs in square holes. I probably got that wrong. Square pegs in round holes. That's what for me. He has to be number 10. Direct competition with Bruno Fernandes, and let them fight for the spot. And hopefully that elevate both of their game, and obviously we'll get the right player playing.
Usman, really good to talk to you. I really like what you had to say there. And usually we're having a bit of an argument, but I can't fault what you had to say.
We'll see you on Saturday as well.
I do agree with you. Yeah, we'll see you on Saturday on the forum. See you later, Usman. I think he's gone. But on that, I wanted to say, like, obviously, people talk about Bruno Fernandes creating chances. I love Bruno, absolutely love him. But usually when he drops out the team, we do struggle to create chances. We weren't short of that against Palace in midweek. Good football, made chances, and we scored the most goals we've scored all season.
The thing I wanted to bring up as well, a lot of people are not picking up on, it's like Ricky says, keep the ball simple. Bruno, play it simple. All our goals came from long diagonals against Palace.
Do you know what, Mount? I do think I
at the corner. So there is something for playing that long ball. It does work when it's tight. That switch, that big ball, the Hollywood pass as people call it, it's effective. Every big club does it.
I do think Mount can play on the right. I don't necessarily want it to happen, but he's played there very well for Chelsea in the past. He's done it multiple occasions. He's got a great cross on him, and he's good, like you said, technically.
Mount is excellent at set pieces.
So I think he can work on the right. That's another place that he can play. I think he will be good for Man United. But we'll get another call it in. And if you disagree with me and you want to have your say, make sure you get in the Discord and call in. Scan the QR code.
Halfway through, people, get on it.
Yeah, so scan the QR code or the link is in the description. Make sure you come and join us and get your say in. We'd love to have a little bit of a back and forth with you.
Did our mate DZ coming on?
Yes, our mate DZ is coming on. Someone just said, Beth, have you read the comments on Instagram? If you've not heard, we're doing a live show on the 11th of December, all advertised on the Instagram. Mark's hosting it, and I had to do the presenting video for it. It was a script. I didn't make it up off the top of my head. A little bit cringy, but what I do for this channel, see you all there on the 11th of December. But DZ, I mean, welcome DZ. Always appreciate your opinion. Happy to talk about Amrabat and Rashford, Newcastle in the next round as well. I mean, let's start off with that actually, DZ. Newcastle in the next round of the Cup. Is this Man United's cup to lose? Should we be putting everything into this? Is that how you see it?
Hey, hope you guys are doing well.
All right, DZ, mate.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we need silverware. Just helps solidify the fact that Erik ten Hag is the right guy. We are moving in the right direction. Usually I think when you're holders of a cup, the expectation is for you to go do it again, prove to everyone that it wasn't a one-time off. So I kind of like the draw. I kind of hope that Arsenal would draw Newcastle and we would avoid a Premier League team. But it is what it is. You got to play the game in front of you. So I'm excited for it. I'm glad it's at home too.
Do you feel we would be automatic favourites if we beat Newcastle, DZ?
To be honest with you, I don't want to be automatic favorites. I still think that there are some people in the club that can't handle the kind of pressure that that the fans put on them and the media puts on them. So I'm cool with Liverpool being favorites and Arsenal being favorites, and us just doing our job game by game, playing our football and winning.
Do you think we will beat Newcastle at Old Trafford?
I think we can beat Newcastle at Old Trafford. I think if it was at St. James's Park, we'd have an issue, but I think at home, it's ours to lose, definitely.
You're right about St. James's Park. I don't think I've seen us win there once.
No, in the Cup, Old Trafford has been our saviour in a way, and we just keep getting them home draws. Don't know how it keeps happening, but it keeps happening. And
did you see the odds that it was?
It's mental.
The odds of what it actually was to get that many draws.
I think we'll win the Carabao Cup. I honestly do.
I said the FA Cup this season.
Maybe I'm just being a bit delusional. No, I think City will go for that again. But DZ, let's talk a little bit about Amrabat. I know you absolutely love him. How is he fitting into this team? Mount as well, impressed with him. What's your feelings on that one? How does he fit in?
Okay, I'll start with Mount because I feel like I was maybe a little bit too critical on Twitter. And I watched the first half back yesterday, and he was sensational. I have to admit, he looked really, really good. But to me, I feel like everything stemmed because of Amrabat's presence in the team. 1 minute he's left back, the next minute you look up, he's playing right wing, supporting Pellistri. He's always available for the ball. He's not afraid to go into a tackle. He is always creating angles for his teammates. I mean, his passing was excellent. I was just like, you cannot say no. And I know, I was telling myself at halftime, I was like, it's going to take a player to have a really, really good statistical game, goals and assists, to take the man of the match away from Amrabat, and Casemiro did that. I feel like if Casemiro doesn't get an assist, Amrabat is probably man of the match. He was absolutely sensational. And it does not take a rocket scientist to see what he would have brought to our team if we had bought him in June, or if we had done the deal earlier into the season, because we would be talking about different league position. And, a lot of people are on here talking about the lineups and dropping Rashford and Mount and all this stuff. Somebody said it earlier, we've all been saying it, the smartest midfield we can put going forward will be Casemiro, Amrabat, and Bruno. And Bruno is our leader. And I said it on our Twitter space, and Adam was there. You need somebody to link defense and offense, and Bruno can be that guy. He doesn't create almost 300 chances in 2 seasons by accident. It just doesn't happen. He is he's in a way a generational talent. I'm not going to say he's the greatest player ever, but he's not, there aren't many of his ilk. So, I mean, I love Amrabat. He was sensational.
Massively agreed in that. I think if Bruno's in like a City team, he's considered one of the best midfielders the league's seen. Like genuinely, like not in like the top tier, but he goes into a different bracket. I think he struggled in this United team a little bit, and I do think he is top quality. But DZ, I really like the point you brought up about potentially losing vital points by not having Amrabat in earlier. I mean, it's mad that we could be going into another season where not getting our transfer business done on time has cost us really valuable points this season, and to basically be competitive, because the league's already gone. Top 4 is still obviously on, but it's going to be a tough one. I mean, is Ten Hag going to be scratching his head with this, thinking, why is this not been done earlier?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think a lot of times fans of other clubs who haven't done the rotation business don't understand what it's like. You're seeing with Brighton. Brighton's result yesterday was horrific because how on earth are you losing to Chelsea? They lost in the Conference League as well. And so you're seeing, and Newcastle also losing. So you're seeing that like these teams are going to struggle rotating their squad because they're not actually as deep as they think they are. And so I think that there is an opportunity for us to get top four if we can put a consistent run of games together. But to be honest with you, the bottom line, it always comes back to these owners aren't serious. I mean, we're sitting here talking about McTominay, Maguire, Van de Beek, and the list can go on, right? And I love Varane, but Varane's got injury problems. And I love the Iceman Lindelof, but a couple of these games, he's looking like a glass of water. So if we had serious owners, they would have bought players, Tadibo, whoever, Amrabat, and been like, look, McTominay, you're not going to play. It's not going to happen for you. We already have your replacement. You might as well just go now. Instead, it's always reactionary FC. Oh, McTominay doesn't want to go, so now we can't sign this player. So, I mean, I feel for Ten Hag, and I feel like he gets a lot of criticism. But at the end of the day, genuinely, it's like he's almost reading all of our tweets. He's one of us. He didn't rate Maguire to be captain. He didn't rate Maguire to be starting center back. He didn't rate Maguire to be a rotation option center back. He doesn't rate McTominay. He didn't rate Fred. You know, he's one of us. It's not him. And I feel like the manager always gets the problems, and it's the ownership.
You're right.
If he was reading our tweets fully, he'd stop playing Bruno on the bloody right wing. I tell you that for free.
Agreed.
I mean,
that is the one.
Last thing I wanted to talk to you about, DZ, before I let you go. Garnacho in for Rashford. Do you agree with that? Do you not? I mean, Garnacho, is he good enough to be a starter now?
I said last week I think it was last week, whenever the first show was, I said we should sell Rashford. And I think Rashford is a very special talent. But I feel like on some level, he's hit his ceiling, okay? It's either we're good enough for top four and he's scoring goals, or we're finishing sixth and he's not really contributing. And I'm tired of the up and down. I want my club to be successful. I think Garnacho's ceiling could be higher than Rashford's because he's already very, very good. He's not afraid to take his man on. You can see that the goals are there. It's just like blocks or crazy saves. I would give Garnacho a chance, and I believe, in other sports, you go with the hot hand. Garnacho scored a great goal. He looked excellent. He kept the ball. He was working off the ball. Why would you change it? And I would do the same thing on the other side with Pellistri. I feel like I'm not his biggest fan, but I feel like you should keep legs out there, and he looked really good. Keep going.
Change it up, DZ. Absolutely.
Spitting facts.
Amazing,
Spitting
mate.
Facts.
Cheers
Really
for
good.
coming on,
really
mate.
good talking, DZ.
Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
for coming on. Really appreciate
Cheers.
that.
So we got Dwayne Johnson on next.
I mean, I don't know. We keep getting different. Hopefully, he actually does try and tune in. But everyone in the comments saying how well DZ spoke there, and it's true. Even if you disagree with an opinion, like even if you think Rashford should be starting, you can't argue with what DZ's saying. Like go with a hot hand, as you would say.
No, it's like Sir Alex Ferguson dropped Ronaldo.
Does happen.
He takes Paul Scholes out the side. You've got to learn. You've got to know where you're playing your football. And this is the standards that Ten Hag is talking about. He understands that. I'm not saying that because he's been for a dinner with Sir Alex Ferguson and he's given him his sort of eye on everything and what's going on at the football club. But every single big team drops their players. You're not guaranteed a place if you're playing for a massive club. It's as simple as that.
So the argument is, if De Bruyne came back to City now, back from injury, does he start? I bet Pep wouldn't do it because he's been playing so well without him.
He would not start him. He would not do that, Pep. It's like everyone talks about Phil Foden being one of the most generational talents in English football. Absolutely brilliant player.
Gets a game.
He doesn't have this. He's always off the bench, and this guy will start for England week in, week out. And if you smell what the Rock is cooking, it's time to bring him onto the show next.
Yeah, go on, Adam. Take it away.
The title of this next caller is The Rock. That's his stage name anyway, guys. But Rock, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, man. How are you?
It's not the same one, but yes, I'm very, very good. Where are you calling from?
South East London.
South East London. That'll do.
London.
It's further enough away. And we're talking about the incompetence of the board, i.e. Arnold and Murto on this subject, mate, for you. Is this why we're in the position we're in? Is it the incompetence of the staff that the Glazers have hired? Do you feel like they need to be held up as well as the Glazers in all of this?
100%. They are definitely the second reason, apart from the Glazers, why we're in this position. And I say that because we need a director of football. We've been screaming out for one for years compared to all the other European clubs. But the problem is, you got owners who don't care about the results on the pitch. so they're not gonna enforce new hires, and then John Murtagh and Richard Arnold need to keep their jobs. They're not gonna hire anyone else. So it's like, and they are so bad at transfers. The way we've spent money on overinflated fees is the reason why we can't pay for Amrabat right now.
Yep, that is exactly it. I mean, you talked about that in the previous call. It's like we've lost how many points, Beth, because we've not been able to get transfers over the line before the deadline closes.
I mean, if we do the same as what we did last year, which was end up gathering, and I think with Amrabat in this team, I expect us to gather quite a few points now and go on a good run. Do you know what we did last year? Started shaky, then ended up going on a good run. And then in January, we were in a really good position to actually challenge, to be honest with you. We were near enough there. We signed Weghorst and Sabitzer, and then we absolutely fell away. And there was just no chance.
Enough.
And it wasn't enough. And it's like, if Ten Hag has that same sort of story, you do have to ask yourself questions is, if he got Amrabat in time, would it be a different story? If they invested in the January transfer window, would it then be a different story? And a club that wanted to win things and fully back the manager would do this. You're absolutely right, Rock. But, I mean, is this another reason why we should get Ten Hag? What are your feelings on Ten Hag? Talks of him being offered another deal, which I absolutely love, because he's the one thing that this ownership has actually done right, is getting Ten Hag in when there was a massive pressure to go for Pochettino. This was the last roll of the dice, I feel. Yeah, so what's your thoughts on Ten Hag, Rock?
I think you're exactly right. He needs to outlive the Glazers. If that happens, then we really have a chance to invest in Ten Hag's vision and be able to give him the players that he needs. You know, and also I think people don't realise is that Murtagh, he came from Everton in 2012. People forget who our CEOs and our board of directors are. They are nowhere near good enough for us. You know, but Ten Hag, amazing manager, so underrated for what he's done with the team we're given. And also, can I say one thing? We like you said, we went on a good run, and then they didn't invest in January. That's what the board and Glazers keep doing. Whenever the team does well, they don't invest. They only invest when things look so bad. We never would have got Casemiro in if we didn't lose against Brighton and Brentford last season.
Absolutely. Speaking facts, Rock, and I think it's widely known throughout, the business that Murtagh is not good enough for Man United. Like, I think it's widely renowned, and it's something that needs to change, and hopefully new ownership will do that. But Rock, thank you very much for joining us. Really do appreciate that, and some really great points that do need to be brought up on shows like this. Ronnie Dodge, Mount will gain confidence now he has an assist. Well, we hope so. Be interesting to see whether he does play on Saturday. Ten Hag seems to play him when he can, like he likes him. He wanted to bring him to the club. That's a good topic to talk about.
It will be, and considering how well he played in that first half, I feel Ten Hag is going to have a tough decision to make at weekend.
And that's what it's all about. You want the manager to have headaches. But DZ was talking about Lindelof turning from the Iceman into Waterman. I like Lindelof. I don't think he's been great recently. It's
he's
weird.
Had a bad start to the season.
He goes through spells where he's really top quality and then he's just not good. But we have Mark on the line now speaking to us about how he thinks Lindelof is our worst defender. I mean, Mark, I would never go that far, but Mark, come on now. I mean, worse than Evans and Maguire. Are you being serious?
Actually, Mark, I'm going to pose this to you now. I had this opinion on Lindelof. I always said about Lindelof, he's great when he comes in for a few games and you're not expecting much. He looks really good, but then when you're relying on him week in, week out, he drifts off into that player that actually proves he isn't first team for me. Is that sort of on the line of where you are, or are you completely not having Lindelof at all?
I'm more for, I think Maguire should start ahead of him. In that sense, where
he's rocking the boat, Mark.
Yeah. So it was pretty evident when he came on against Palace, 45th minute, where we kind of struggled to build out from the back, especially on that left-hand side where it was either through the low or Maguire, where we really got balls into the midfield. I can remember one specifically where he was at left back, and then he kind of goes forward and gets pressured by Palace defenders, and then we could see the chance. But it also doesn't help
as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What I would say to you, Mark, is, I mean, so you think Lindelof is our worst defender? I mean, I don't agree with you on that one, but I know it's weird. He is a very divisive one in the fan base. So would you be starting Varane and Maguire then on Saturday together?
Yeah, preferably, yeah.
What is it that Maguire has over Lindelof that you like about him? Is it his passing? I mean, what is it?
I would say ball playing, yeah.
Because Lindelof for me is more pacey. Maybe it's what he can win in the air.
It looks like he has been treading treacle recently, though. Lindelof, he has lost yard of pace.
Here's one for you. Do you prefer Martinez or Maguire?
Martinez.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not. So
That's
you are.
A silly question.
Well,
you know.
well, I mean, I think preferring Maguire over Lindelof, not silly because everyone can have a different opinion, but I think that is a bit wild. So I thought wanted to ask the question.
Poor old Martinez being brought into a combo with Lindelof and Maguire.
I needed to ask the question. Because I'd put Evans over Maguire. I think at this point.
You know what? It'd be. I put the poll out, Mark, and I asked Evans or Maguire on the build-up show, and like 55% went Evans over Maguire. So everyone's got an opinion, Mark, on yours. I mean, in terms of that defence you were talking about there, we've seen Amrabat in there as the extra left back, you would say, inverted centre midfielder. Would you go with that again?
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much hurt for the invert, and then we can have both Mount and Bruno in the midfield. So
that's what he's
really
making room.
I mean, Mark, I love it when people come on here and give us a different opinion, and that's exactly what you've done. So thank you very much for coming on.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you for that. I mean, interesting stuff. I had to just give him a little test. Because you never know.
It wasn't so much of a test for me.
Ricky thinks our starting centre-back pairing should be Lindelof and Evans.
I know, but Ricky's
Ricky,
I mean,
so yeah, I thought we might have had another Ricky on our hands.
Ricky asked me when I was in Munich, amongst all the media, the football's about to start. The question that came out of Ricky's mouth was, "How's the beer?" So that tells you everything you need to know about our Rick stuff. But we love him now, don't we?
Yeah, we
love
do.
Our Rick.
We do love him. Next up, we have Noda talking about Erik Ten Hag's decision making. This could be an interesting one. Ten Hag come under a lot of criticism for his decision making. Noda, are you with us?
Are you, Noda?
Hey, how are you doing, bad and Ed?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Just about hear you, mate. You're quite low there. Go on, mate. Weren't you point about Ten Hag and his decision making?
I was Ten Hag is pretty strong with his decision for some of the players, but I feel he have some of his favorite players where he won't drop them or he won't rotate the squad. If I was Pellistri, if I was Garnacho, I would be like really pissed about Erik Ten Hag's constant picking on Rashford, Anthony when he was fit. Now even with the right wing position available, playing Bruno off the right wing, which I'm not a fan of, and players like Mason Mount being talked about putting square peg in the round holes and stuff like that. I really want Pellistri to be given a proper chance by Ten Hag.
Yeah.
Noda, I wanted to ask you then, what are your thoughts on the Sancho situation then? If you know, you're thinking Ten Hag has some favouritism, does Sancho have a point in your eyes, or do you still think he's gone too far with it?
Well, I might sound like a hypocrite, but no, Ten Hag's pretty fair with what he done with Sancho. Like Sancho shouldn't make that post whatsoever. Should be like Sir Alex Ferguson would have killed him. He would get nowhere near that dressing room. So with that being said, Erik Ten Hag's giving the strong point. I agree with what he's doing with Sancho's position.
Yeah.
I mean, Noda, I want to put a question to you then. What would your front three be for Man United if
everyone's fit, Noda? And I'm going to bring Anthony into the equation here. Now he's back as well in the country, and we may see him at some point this season. If everyone's fit, Noda, just answer Beth's question there in terms of how you would attack that front three. Who would you go with?
If everyone was fit, Martial's never fit, but if everyone was fit, Martial's going to play left wing, Rasmus at striker, and I will give Pellistri a chance at right wing.
Martial, Højlund, and Pellistri.
You're speaking the Ricky language. But to be honest with you, I'd love to see that front three. I think that'd be nice as well. No, can I actually just ask you a question? Whereabouts are you from?
I'll put in.
Whereabouts are you from? The accent.
Where I'm from?
Yeah.
I'm from Myanmar.
Love it.
So it's Southeast Asia.
Absolutely. I think you're breaking up there a little bit.
Absolutely love it. But great points, Noda, mate. Thanks
great points. So we're going to have to let you go just because you're breaking up, but I would have loved to ask you about the midfield. But thank you very much for joining us on there. PC Gamer Tag says, I would go with 4-2-3-1, Amrabat, Casemiro, Garnacho, Mount, Bruno, Højlund as striker, Rashford, Pellistri, Martial on the bench. Interesting stuff. Get in the comments what you guys would do as well.
You know Rashford's going to score at weekend now.
Yeah, he is going to, and that's what we want. We want to see healthy competition places. And if you guys want to call in, make sure you click the barcode, scan it, and then link in the description as well.
Make it quick,
if you can't call in, then get your discussions in the chat and we'll talk about them too. We want to involve everyone. This is your show, guys. But going to go back to the ownership situation now, Adam, and we have Pevan on the phone wanting to talk about the ownership situation. Pevan, are you with us?
Hey, Pevan, mate.
Yep. Hey, hi, Adam. Hi, Pat. Hope you're doing good.
Good, mate. Good, mate. Fire away. The ownership situation right now. Are you thinking we might see an end to this, or is this just going to drag on till the end of the season again?
I mean, it's really hard to tell. It's been a year since they put the club up for sale.
We had. You say that,
yeah, it's nearly a year. And the number of rounds of bids that we've had. I mean, since the last one, we've not really heard anything until the Sir Jim news recently this week. But yeah, I think overall, I mean, 2 summers ago, I said Ten Hag would be our most important signing. And I think the next most important signing is the ownership. I mean, we can talk about players getting signed or what kind of formation we're playing, which players fit the system. But overall, we've got the manager. We need the whole structure above him to change. I think the board, the owners, they just zero accountability. I mean, for a small example, you could, I mean, on Tuesday, how Amrabat played and how he actually lifted the other players to play better as well, and shows that he's very important. But how we signed him only on the final day of the transfer window, and how the last summer we signed Casemiro because of an emergency. So 2 players that actually kind of revolutionized the team in a way under Ten Hag, and they look like they had been given no priority whatsoever by the board.
I mean, how many grey hairs have you got, Adam, since the ownership situation was announced? It feels like we've been waiting. Feels like we've been waiting an age. You started covering him then on your beard.
Yeah, I can't help it now. It's actually started to come out of my beard. So,
I honestly feel like I've aged. I've got so many more wrinkles on my forehead since
it
was.
It's like it's like Pevan says there. It's nearly been a year now, Beth. I remember stood outside Old Trafford talking around the World Cup time when this broke, and it seems like a lifetime ago. And we're no nearer, I don't feel, in knowing what the Glazers are doing.
The thing is, it's actually impacted us negatively as well, in the sense of everybody thought they were going to sell, so in January didn't really get on their backs too much about the January transfer window.
Just say there in the chat, Sing Game says, at least you're not bald, Adam.
Oh yeah, could be
Definitely.
Worse. Although then you might be an elite type of person, because Amrabat and Ten Hag are both bald, and look at the situation we're in there. Bald is best. That's the name of my fantasy team. But Pevan's still on the line. So Pevan, I mean, what you've seen the different groups come out. You know, the main 2 are Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sheikh Jassim. What direction would you like Manchester United to go in?
I mean, definitely Qatar. That seems the most convincing bid from the information that we have. I mean, they want to buy the club. They want to pledge money into the stadium, into the players, to return us to be back where we are. Well, Sir Jim the news about him is he's trying to find ways to get around the minority ownership. I mean, that's his biggest worry at this point. Where else Qatar would just buy the club and, you know, turn it into what we all want it to be and what we haven't been for the last 10 years.
Pevan, I have to agree with you. I do. Obviously, I don't know the full details, but Sir Jim trying to chop and change, it really does worry me that his deal just ultimately is more years for the Glazers to be here and not much really changing, with not the ceiling to be one of the best run clubs in the world, whereas Qatar gives us that ceiling. Pevan, great points raised. Thank you so much for coming into the chat. We really do appreciate it there. Have a lovely day. And I want to get one last person in, which is where we kind of had to wrap that one up quite quickly before we end it.
It's funny how it's reading out on our script here. It's like Jose Mourinho is saying Ten Hag doesn't deserve a new contract.
I know, it's Jose. It's like we've had The Rock, we've had Ange Postecoglou, and we've got Jose Mourinho waiting for us. Quickly before I get him in, Ronald Jacob. As for me, Bruno can't be dropped. People complain about him. I fail to understand in the same breath they complain about Eriksen can't run. But why does Bruno run it? It doesn't make sense. Wanting back to join the call in soon. Ronald, make sure you click the link in the Discord and join us. Would love to hear
Ronald, good to hear you, mate.
But I mean, last caller of the call-in show. Absolutely love these shows, and it is Jose. I mean, it's funny how it comes up. Jose, Ten Hag does not deserve a new contract. I mean, I'm not your friend, Jose, but I want to hear your opinion.
Tell us, Jose.
Tell us why.
Tell us, Jose, what's going on?
Hey Adam, hey Beth. So basically the thing behind why my apprehension of Ten Hag not deserving a contract yet is because I look at the other teams around, all right, and I see teams which are built on certain players who have a long-term success in their team. Like for Liverpool, there is Szoboszlai. There are other players around which are there. When I look at City, there is Guardiola. Before that itself, there was Aguero and everything. Like there were at least 4 players which a team was building a base around. I mean, when I look at Chelsea, even now, Chelsea, I think, have a better strong contention than what we are right now. But when I look at our team, I don't know. I can't name 4 players whom Ten Hag is building the team around, ideally. Because if I look at maybe Bruno is an important player. He's 29 already. After 3 years, he's 32. I mean, we'll be looking for replacement for him that time. I'm looking at a player with an age gap, like let's say between 22 and 26, and who will be on a long term or whom he's building the spine around. And as of now, I can't find a player like that in his team. And irrespective of 1 year being in this club, I don't think he has figured out the perfect playing 11 yet.
Jose, do you feel like that player that you're talking about there to build up at a certain age, they're the Declan Rices, the Jude Bellinghams of this world, that the ownership and the way United have run didn't give Ten Hag a chance to actually go in and get? Do you feel like that's the type of player United should be going in for? And there's really probably more on the ownership than Ten Hag.
Absolutely, Adam, because the thing is that he only went and bought Onana, if I'm not wrong. He wanted Mason Mount. Mason Mount is one player whom I think on a long run can stay according to the age profile. But other than Mason Mount, who else is there in the team? If I look at the front line, there is Rasmus Højlund. But I'm pretty sure that Rasmus Højlund is not going to be our main striker 2 years down the lane. It'll be Ferguson or maybe Osimhen or something like that. If I look at the midfield, only Mason Mount is there. If I look at the defense, I have apprehensions overall. Reguilon was bought in for loan. Martinez is yet to prove a lot to me. There is a right centre-back position which is still open. Right back, Ten Hag wanted that Van Leverkusen guy, Frimpong. Onana, I still have my reservations about. So who are these, like, let's say, 4 players whom Ten Hag is building the spine around or the team around? I still don't find it. He's putting a lot of trust in Rashford, where I feel Garnacho is better than Rashford. I mean, if he plays him, that is. Or if Diallo is fit, I would rather put Diallo ahead of Rashford. So, yeah. So that is one of the main reasons why I feel Ten Hag doesn't deserve a contract yet. Maybe I'll wait for 2 more transfer windows, and maybe that time I might think about that.
Jose,
or the club should think about that.
Jose, I do have to disagree with you, but that's perfectly fine. It's just the fact that I think, obviously, getting profiles in that are a young age are good to build a squad around. But for Erik ten Hag, I think it's a process in this situation. So he needs results now. We go and just buy young players in, like what Chelsea have done. Look at the position they're in. I mean, they can barely win a game. They've beat Luton. They've just beat Brighton. I mean, that isn't working out for them. In the future, it will. But Erik ten Hag, at Manchester United, you need results now. And there's more pressure on Manchester United than there is Chelsea. And Chelsea, there is pressure. But Erik ten Hag needs results now. I think a lot of people write off age now. I mean, I saw Spaz the other day saying Reguilon's 27. Like, you know, he's coming towards the end. I'm like, what? No, I'm like, that's when you're in the prime of your career. So I think Erik ten Hag now has a team that he is building, and once Erik ten Hag really has his foot on the door, has a grasp of this team, and he's built it up to the point where we are getting consistent results, then you'll be able to see the investment in the market for the youth players and for the players that are coming up. When he's got the baseline of the team that he wants around him, he can then start looking for replacements in the future. But it is always hard dealing with this board that really it struggles to allow it. But I mean, Jose, thank you very much for getting your opinion across. We love having different opinions, so thank you for coming on.
Sure, pleasure, man. But in order for Ten Hag to be successful, I think he needs to have better players in his team. And I think all the players are his choice. Onana, Mount, Højlund, etc. are his choice. So,
thank you very much, Jose.
Thank you for coming on. I mean, it is an interesting point. I think Højlund's going to do well. Mainu as well is another young player.
Transfer window under new ownership may be a different ball game.
I do think that as well. I do think transfer window under a different ownership will transform us. But some really interesting calls today, Adam. We had people saying drop Bruno and Rashford. We had people saying Ten Hag doesn't deserve a new contract. People saying Ten Hag's the best thing that we've done. It's the owners that are at fault. So many contradicting opinions, but that's what we love, because we love to hear both sides. This show is for the community, and it's for you guys to get your opinions in and get your calls in. And I'm absolutely loving them so far, so spread the word, everybody. And
brilliant
Adam,
stuff, guys.
Great to have you on as well.
Yeah, absolutely loving it. Loving getting the opinions. That's what it's all about. It's getting everyone's thoughts, because everyone has got a different view on United. So it's important to get the voices out there.
obviously this is a show that's just starting off as well, so if you guys have any opinions on how we should move with it, how we should take it, we're always open to discussions in the comments and everything like that, so make sure you get your opinions in the comments and we will look through them and we would love to see them. Thank you everyone for getting involved in the chat. Thank you to everyone who's respectful to the callers as well, hitting the likes on the video, super chats as well. We do appreciate you as a community. Last one here from Hakim saying, I'm surprised Altay Bayinde did not get the start against Palace. Hopefully get a chance to see our second choice in action. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one as well. So thanks for that.
Super chat, Hakim, as well.
Thanks for that. But everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. Lovely calling show. Have a lovely rest of your week. And Mark, we're back with the PM show tonight. Hit a like on the video, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day. We will see you on the next one.